Yeah.
All right, well, Austin, how do you feel, I guess, now being back on the Gold Coast to celebrate the release of this film?
I just flew in last night, and I drove by Movie World, and it just feels amazing. Some of the most special times in my life were spent right here on the Gold Coast, and so I walked Broad Beach this morning, and it felt so good to be back. It's really surreal for me. It feels good.
Can you share with us maybe one of the special moments that comes to mind when you think of the Gold Coast and the time you spent here?
I have so many special moments. Where do I begin? I spent so many hours walking that beach, it's right there, and just listening to Elvis's voice, and I would just walk up and down that beach, and I was also here for 6 months when the production shut down and when it was like a ghost town here. And so I had quite a long time of it felt like home. Yeah, it feels good to be back.
Speaking of that time, and obviously you must have come just, as an actor, he's prepared so heavily for that role. What was it like when you kind of heard that, 3 days out, we're going to have to stop for an indefinite amount of time?
Yeah, at that point, we were so close to filming, and I really felt we just received a new script, and I remember having this moment where I said, I just wish I had another week. I just wish I had another week to prepare. And suddenly, Tom got COVID, and then production shut down. I thought we were just shutting down for 2 weeks, and so once it kind of became clear that Tom was okay, because we didn't know what this virus was and that sort of thing, and so I was really concerned for him and for Rita. And then once I knew that they were healthy, and then I thought, okay, well, we'll start up shooting in 2 weeks, and so I kind of took that time, and I was preparing, and then they said, oh, they're actually going to call force majeure on the film, and we don't know if we're going to pick back up, and then they were going to fly me back to the States, and I said, if I go back, I'm going to lose the momentum that I have built over here, and I really want time to let all the work marinate. And so I stayed here on the Gold Coast, and I ended up having 6 months, and it was really this silver lining to the whole thing, where I had time where it went from certain things feeling more external to marinating, and suddenly it felt like they were in my bones more. And so I'm very grateful for that time.
Especially towards the back half of the film, you see Elvis really, in isolation a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So, and that was kind of the life that you were living here at the time. Do you think that really, I guess, in a way, changed how you did that performance?
Yeah. Because I had about 3 months where I didn't have a hug, and I felt loneliness like I never felt before. And so that feeds into those moments where you feel the void of a silent room, that he felt.
What was your life like in those 6 months? What were you doing every day?
I was working every day,
Yeah.
really. I think we all kind of experienced how wild that time was, where the world isn't knocking at your door and you have to create your own structure to your day. And I went from my days being so structured, where I had karate from 8 to 9, and then singing lessons from this to this, and then movement from that to that, and then a meeting with Baz, and so it was like my days were so structured, and suddenly all my time was mine, and it became this really free flowing thing where I just followed my curiosity, and so some days would be spent just watching footage and then seeing things that I'd never seen before, or going for these long walks on the beach and listening to audio recordings of his, or playing music for hours, or singing, or wallpapering my walls with images of Elvis, or it was this thing where I just kind of followed my curiosity. It was really one of the happiest times of my life. I really enjoyed it.
It was such, an exhausting looking performance. You put so much energy into all of these scenes. What was it like when that moment you wrapped the film here?
It's a wild thing, because you don't quite know what to do with yourself. I had spent 2 years doing nothing else. and suddenly you've like crossed this finish line. And I was sad. I was very sad and proud of everything that everybody had put into this film, and but I didn't quite know what to do with myself.
Yeah, I know you've said that you had that you kind of actually needed medical help in the end. Was that here on the Gold Coast? Was that once you got home?
Coast, yeah.
So did you end up going to hospital here?
Yeah.
At the University Hospital where Tom spent all that time?
Yeah, I forgot what hospital it was exactly, but at 4 a.m. I woke up right here where I was staying, and ended up they ended up driving me to the hospital at 4 a.m. Have had me on an IV drip and the whole thing in the hospital.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is, I guess, this role will change your life. We can only imagine. It's such a big role to have. When you think back, what will you think about your time on the Gold Coast, here making this movie that has been so influential in your career?
I walked down the beach this morning and I sat in the spot where I used to always sit, and I really just took in the sound of the waves and the smell, and just I feel so grateful for the time that I had here. It really, I just loved it. I really did, and it feels so good to be back. I can't tell you.
Very happy to hear that. Is there a scene that was perhaps the hardest for you to do, or that maybe is the most gratifying now when you see it back?
I think they all had their own challenges, but I think in a way the very first performance was the most challenging because it was the first. And I had an experience being on stage, and I'd done all the preparation, but that's just these possibilities. And suddenly now it's coming to fruition, and you're having to do it. And now's the moment of truth where you're in front of a camera, and everything that you've worked on and everything everybody's worked on is coming into this moment. So that first moment was 68 special, which was my second day on set, and I'm walking on the black leather, and I was terrified. And but the thing I could rest in was the fact that this was a make or break moment in Elvis's life, and so it was the same for me. And so I knew that all that fear was okay to feel, because he felt the same thing. And then it was just about going out there and being present with the audience and channeling the music, and just turned out to be one of my most favorite days on set.
We certainly did all that. I will leave it there, but congratulations again.
Thank you so
and
much.
Good luck with the rest of the tour. I'm sure you get a good sleep at the end of it.
Yeah, I'm gonna sleep for like a week.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, folks. Stop rolling.